Hello and welcome back to the Ain't Dead Yet podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by our official sponsor, Sun Life Organics. Love, heal, and inspire. Sun Life Organics is a juice bar that has locations all across the United States, providing only the highest quality organic ingredients. I love it. Personally, I go just about every day. My favorite smoothie is the Holy Cow. It's packed with 50 grams of protein, and it always helps me recover. Go find one near you. Another official sponsor of today's podcast is Noble Origins. Noble is a grass-fed beef protein complex, utilizing everything in the cow from nose to tail. It's personally my favorite protein. I like the vanilla the best. I like to mix it with raw milk. That is my favorite combination, but the chocolate is also amazing. I also had mentioned with additional sponsor, Sun Life Organics, that they have a shake smoothie called the Holy Cow. They also utilize Noble protein in order to hit that 50 grams in that shake. So again, go order it. Check them out, nobleorigins.com. Use code ADY for 15% off. Love y'all. Hello and welcome back to the Ain't Dead Yet podcast. We are so grateful to have you here today. We have a very special guest. We have Mr. Eben Britton. Eben is joining us today to tell his story. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. We're super excited just to dig into it, man. So just to get the audience kind of comfortable and give them a little bit of understanding, can you give us a little bit of like your early age years, like where were you born, childhood, parents, stuff like that?
Yeah. Born in New York City. Lived in Brooklyn, New York until I was 10. Mom moved my brother and I to LA, Los Angeles at that time. Went to middle school and high school in Burbank, California. Started playing football my freshman year of high school. Before that, though, had the dream, the vision to play in the NFL. And when I stepped on the field as a freshman in high school, it was just this rocket ship to the moon. You know, everything I did, how I carried myself, how I lived, how I breathed, how I ate, how I moved was all preparing myself to play in the NFL. You know, everybody would ask me, yeah, what are you going to be when you grow up? Say, I'm going to play in the NFL. Say, oh, that's cool. What's your plan B? I was like, there's no plan B. That's it. And, you know, I did it. I went to University of Arizona, redshirted my freshman year, started the next 3 years, left as a redshirt junior, drafted in the second round, 39th overall by the Jags. Was a starter at right tackle for 4 years there. Went into free agency, played 2 years in Chicago, and experienced a handful of pretty significant injuries, ruptured disc in my back, L5-S1, had back surgery, had shoulder surgery. And, you know, around year 6, towards the end of year 6, just found myself in the film room going, you know, what am I doing here now? You know, after 15 plus years in the game, 6 years in the league. And that was it. After that, decided, was a free agent after that second year in Chicago. Had a handful of teams calling me, but just couldn't even get myself on the plane to go do the workout, you know. And so that was it. And that was the beginning of where we are now. I've been on this long, slow journey of putting myself back together again, learning about who I am, understanding what's important to me in my life, getting clear in many ways, letting go of a lot of shit, healing, reconciling, you know, and that's kind of the very short version of how we got here.
I love that. Well, there's plenty to unpack.
Yeah.
For sure. So I heard you say at 10 years old, you said you and your sibling moved with your mom from New York City to California.
Yeah.
Where was Dad? New York City?
Dad was in Brooklyn, yeah.
Brooklyn. Okay. So your parents had split.
Yeah, parents got divorced when I was 7.
Okay.
You know, which was a total obliteration of my life. My, you know, the family unit. And, set me up for all the good work I've been doing, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it, actually. I love the optimism in that. Sets you up for a lot of awesome challenge and opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of alcoholism, a lot of mental health stuff, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of undiagnosed shit. The culture of our family was pretty dysfunctional. Which was really the impetus for me to play football. Football was this vehicle for me to escape all that, transcend all that darkness, and conquer the world.
I was actually going to transition to that piece too, because I can deeply relate now that I've done some of the work to why I fell so in love with sport in general. And it was my first form of therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know it at the time. I was just a kid that played hard and went after the whistle a lot.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's celebrated. You know what I mean? It's like, this kid, he doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It's not like, man, maybe he's angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't that. Because I don't think as a kid I was outwardly angry outside of sport. It was kind of just stuffed way down in there.
Yeah.
But something about a cadence or a whistle was just like almost an opportunity for me to just snap back in and release. And then I would struggle to stop, though. I mean, I do personal fouls. I mean, all kinds of fun stuff just because, even as a kid.
Yeah.
Just because I just keep going.
Yeah, and that's what got you to where you were, That's what I was, the most violent dude on the field.
Yeah.
And because I had a lot of rage to unleash.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's people probably look at, I think, a lot of athletes, especially sports that are heavy into the physical contact side. And I mean, there's some guys to this day that I see play and I'm watching, I'm like, oh man, he's going to struggle in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You can tell just by almost the look in their eyes and the way they move their body. Like, it's just packed in.
Yeah.
And so I think about that a lot. And I was going to ask you in a little bit, we'll get to it in a little bit, but I do want to talk about like transition opportunities from sport back into life and what that looks like and what it looked like for you. And we'll get into that here shortly. But the next question I wanted to ask you, when you left California and went to Arizona to play ball, was that a culture shift, or are those two places like somewhat similar? I've never been to either.
Where's Kent State?
Northeast Ohio.
Nice. And you grew up in Ohio? Or?
I grew up in Virginia.
Virginia.
I grew up in Southwest Virginia, like farm community, sort of.
Okay.
Northeast Ohio. So Southwest Virginia is extremely conservative. There's not a lot of, we'll call it diversity of any kind. Northeast Ohio is a melting pot. It's like 40 minutes outside of Cleveland. Very liberal school.
Yeah, well, most university environments are pretty liberal.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, it was just a shock for me, bro, because I was like,
yeah, totally.
I don't know anything.
I get it.
I felt completely lost.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you had that similar feel, or if it was already kind of.
Arizona was kind of a melting pot as well. And, New York City and LA are two like liberal center points, which I didn't really identify with at all. The more I started to understand, and not to make this like a political talk at all, but it was, going to college was the first time I started to be exposed to what I would call today as being true liberal ideology,
Yeah.
And recognizing that, interestingly, although I never thought about it, never identified with it at all, but my family was pretty conservative, even though we were from New York and, and then, Los Angeles. Burbank is pretty conservative.
Okay.
Burbank's kind of like an interesting little conservative pocket of Los Angeles.
Okay.
But again, not to really go into a political discussion at all, but it wasn't so from the standpoint of my experience as a as a teenager. I was 17 when I went to college. I didn't turn 18 until October of my freshman year.
Okay.
But there were a lot of guys from Texas. You know, I love the country boys, man. Like, I feel in my heart, I'm a cowboy. So it's like, you know, like I moved out to 5 acres in the hill country for a reason. You know, I feel at home in the country. A lot of guys from Texas, a lot of guys from California. So it made sense to me. It wasn't like a huge culture shock. And at that time, I think football in general, the environment of football, the atmosphere in any locker room is pretty conservative, traditional. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit talking. There's a lot of,
Yeah. A lot of banner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what it's like now, but I imagine it's a little bit different given the explosion of social media and NIL and just all the things going on now. Like, I couldn't imagine being a high school or college kid in this day and age.
No.
You know?
No.
Like, growing up, we didn't have Instagram. Facebook just started my freshman year of college. I got to Arizona and everybody was like, have you heard of this thing called Facebook? And it was just college kids on there.
Right.
You know, it wasn't what it is now.
Right.
It was a totally different world, which is interesting. You feel like a fucking old person talking like that now. But I felt very, other than, I think the common experience of your freshman year in college when you're away from home, it was a really hard year, that first year. Redshirting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're a redshirt freshman, man. I mean, you're up at 5 a.m. in the weight room by 6, getting your lift in. You're in classes all day. You come, you get to football around 2. You're in meetings for 2 hours. Then you're out to practice, giving it everything you've got, and you don't even suit up on Saturdays. So
Right.
it's like it's a tough year.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember by the end of my first semester as a freshman, I felt like, man, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, do I want to do this? Am I going to do this? And I came back after Christmas break and felt pretty invigorated, pretty re-inspired to play. And, then I became a starter, had a great spring. The rest is kind of history there. Went on to be all Pac-10, All-American and all that stuff, team captain. But, and I think in anything that's worth having, you're going to have to go through the fire.
Right.
So there was that, but felt, I chose Arizona for a reason. I love the guys. I love the coaches. At that time, Arizona hadn't been to a bowl game in over a decade. My class was really the class that brought us back to bowl games, and we went to the Las Vegas Bowl by my last year, played BYU, beat the shit out of them in the Vegas Bowl, which was fun. So that was great. It was all part of why I wanted to go there. Also, they were the only school that offered me that had creative writing as a major, which somehow came to me in high school like, that's what I want to major in. I want to write. I want to tell stories, and so, Arizona, Tucson, beautiful place, great college town. I don't know if there's a more beautiful place in the winter. The summers are hell.
Right.
113 degrees in training camp, It's a dry heat, as they say, but it's still hot as fuck,
Yeah. I mean, anytime the turf's cooking, dude.
Yeah.
You feel it burning through your shoes. It's like, so many people don't understand that, but you can literally feel the shit coming through your clothes.
Yeah, the shit's melting your feet, dude.
Yeah. Man, that's insane. So to tie in some other things with the transition from high school to college, were you partying at that time yet?
I was a pretty good kid, man.
Okay.
I was a pretty, football was my life, and I was always a team captain, team leader. So, I had dabbled a little bit, in high school, there were a couple like kickbacks or whatever they used to call them, and have a few drinks here and there, but it wasn't a regular thing at all, you know? Smoked weed a couple times, but college it amped up a little bit, but wasn't really until my NFL career where I really started I just fell into some serious holes with alcohol, with weed, with pills, and that was all a coping mechanism,
Right.
for just dealing with the mental and physical stress of playing, but also the unreconciled trauma that was starting to emerge inside.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I asked that question specifically because I heard you'd mention there was a history of some alcoholism
Yeah.
in the family early on. And I was just curious as to when that kind of picked up for you.
Which I was always really aware of. I mean, we used to go to AA meetings with my mom.
Wow.
She would bring us. I was sitting in AA meetings from the time I was like 12 years old, So we had there's a very significant awareness of the disease in our family.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that,
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And it's almost like because of that awareness, it got delayed a little bit, maybe? You think that you were like...
Yeah. I thought, oh, I'm not an alcoholic.
Right.
Right. Mom would even say to me sometimes, like, you don't have it. You don't have it. Which, looking back, I would never call myself an alcoholic, but I've definitely suffered from the disease of addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And that's taken many forms.
That's well put.
Alcohol, weed, Adderall, opiates, porn, women,
all of it.
All that. Like, it just, it's like whatever form felt most useful at the time.
Right. Right. And it's interesting too, because being, I'm sure, like a higher caliber athlete throughout the early stages of your life, you have different access to different things.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I wasn't prepared for that. I know when I got to college, I grew up pretty normal kid. I mean, parents divorced, all that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But I'd started drinking at 13, like partying on the weekends.
Uh-huh.
And I was never a social drinker. Like I was always the kid that was gone.
Yeah.
But what I'll say is when I got to college, it took on like a whole new level because of the access.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I felt pursued. Where in high school I didn't. Like I talk about it on here all the time. Like I wasn't getting any girls in high school. I got to college, like it totally flipped, and it was just from a status perspective.
You were the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wasn't prepared for that, dude. I was eating that shit up. Like,
yeah, for sure.
This is fantastic. Like, this is what college is all about.
Yeah.
But while all that's happening in the background, you don't really, or at least I didn't realize.
I was the same, by the way.
Okay.
Like high school, I mean, I can't even say it was a serious girlfriend. I had like a girlfriend and some girls that I kind of talked to and was like, kind of sweet on, but
right.
I was not a pursued individual, even as like the star athlete of my high school.
Right.
And I would be kind of pissed off about it.
Yeah. Because it's like, dude, what?
I'm like, I'd walk in. I remember my senior year walking into the lobby of our high school, and they had this gigantic banner for some other student who had, I don't know what they did. They
built a piano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It might as well.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Like, where's my banner? I'm getting a full scholarship offer to go play football, Like, where the fuck's my banner?
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I get it.
And then it's hilarious.
And then when that shift takes place, it's like, holy shit, this is incredible.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So those years at Arizona, I just put this together. You were there with Gronk, I assume.
Yeah. Gronk was like a year or two younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he came at the tail end of your Arizona experience.
Yeah. 2 years. Yeah. So I got to play with Gronk for 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you put him on the tight end list all time?
I mean, man, I think he's got to be the greatest of all time.
He's my one.
Honestly.
He's a true tight end.
And being with that guy, playing with him, and then watching what he did in the NFL and the career he made for himself, man, I'm like, people don't even understand. He had back injuries that would have ended anyone else's career. And the way that he blocked defensive ends, aside from being just an unimaginably phenomenal receiver.
Right.
You're like, how did he even make that catch?
Yeah.
Dude's like, But how he dominates defensive ends, defensive linemen, which is not easy to do. I mean, when you're, when you've got a 30-pound weight advantage on a defensive ends are some of the best athletes in the world.
Right.
They're fucking fire-breathing dragons. Like, that's how we would describe those guys. And Gronk dismantles defensive ends by himself,
right?
And to watch him be able to do that, I don't think there's any tight end in the history of football has the ability to do what he did.
I agree, and that's why he's my one.
Yeah,
it's because there. You could probably argue that there's some tight ends that are better receivers. That's fine.
Sure.
But even if you go just a receiver-based conversation and take the blocking out of it, he's still top 3, top 5.
Yeah, totally.
You put the blocking into it, it's not even close.
Yeah, 100%.
Watching that guy run block.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It's just like, dude, what?
You can't even really.
No, you put a tight end, you can't. I mean, I'm not hating on the guy, but obviously Travis Kelce's been in the spotlight a lot. And watching him run block.
He doesn't want. I mean,
he didn't want to be in there,
blocker. I mean,
who would?
Unbelievable playmaker.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You watch him play, and you're like, how does he even do this?
He's a freak.
Smooth catch, unbelievable athlete and player too, no doubt about it. But I don't even have them in the same category.
Yeah.
That's
how I am too. I was just curious what it was like to be near that guy.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. Rob is like one of those guys. I mean, he's like a big puppy, dude. Party maniac, which I think he's not shied away from.
Right.
But great teammate, like super friendly, kind dude. Super sweet dude, and just a monster on the field.
Yeah.
Like we were playing Washington State. I think it was his first year, his true freshman year. And we were playing Washington State, and he caught this ball deep over the middle, and a safety came up with like what should have been a kill shot. And Rob just decimated this guy. The guy didn't get up. Like he was laying face down, like he got injured trying to kill shot Gronk. And Gronk ran in for a touchdown. That was a moment where I thought to myself, this dude he's just another beast,
Yeah.
He was a special player.
Yeah. Now I can definitely understand. I mean, having someone like that, there's like a different human on the field. It's not,
yeah.
Like you'll catch yourself watching them during the play. You know what I mean? You're supposed to be, you're supposed to be focused on your shit, but you're like, man, I know this is going to him.
Yeah, it was really fun. He definitely elevated the program.
Yeah.
Are
you still involved with Arizona at all?
Man, I'm not. I'm not opposed to it. I sort of, I've grappled with this. I'm working on letting go of a story that I burned a bridge there. When I got drafted, I had my draft day was epic in not a very positive way. I got fucking shit-faced and said a lot of things that afterwards I was just like, wow, I wanted to go into a hole. And, it was all, looking back, it was all an expression of this pain that was inside.
Right.
And, For one, I left early. I left Arizona early. I think everybody was really hopeful that I'd be there through my senior year. But even then, there was a running clock inside, man, about my career with football. I was like, I don't know how much I've got to do this at the level that I'm doing it at and in the way that I'm doing it.
Right.
Like I said, I was always the most violent guy on the field. Which when I got into the NFL, coaches, veterans, they'd be like, Eb, you need to learn how to practice, bro. Because you're going to burn yourself out. And I did. I totally did. So I'm not involved with Arizona. I would like to be more. I'm not sure I have the time. Although, when I came out of football, I went back to my high school and started coaching because, why not? I don't know what else to do.
Right.
And I lasted about half a season coaching.
Okay.
And I went to the head coach, who was my former O-line coach. And I was just like, man, I'm not ready for this. I found myself, I didn't care about talking to these kids about football, dude.
Right.
I wanted to talk to them about life.
Yeah.
What's really going on, The X's and O's, the technique. I felt like, I wasn't interested in it. So I took a handful of years of just really distancing myself from the game, taking time away from it. There was a lot of anger. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of stuff to reconcile and unpack and heal, before I could actually go back and do that. And I'm not sure that I ever will, but it's something that I felt like it would be nice to have a relationship with the program. My head coach got fired a few years later. They've had 4 or 5 head coaches since.
Right.
A couple different ADs. So it feels like there's kind of a loss of connection there too.
Yeah, I get that.
That being said, I'm definitely open and would love any opportunity where I was invited to come and speak to the O-line or the team and just share my experiences in life,
Yeah.
outside of football.
Well, it's funny you say that because the more and more guys I talk to, that's kind of what the shift has become.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, look, I want to prevent these guys from having to do any of the shit that I had to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the brotherhood, right?
Yeah.
That's when you really give a shit. It's like,
yeah,
you have coaches to teach you X's and O's and techniques, dude.
Yeah.
Like these guys, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's what film does.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, be careful.
Yeah.
With X, Y, and Z. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I spent a lot of time last year in the high schools back in my hometown, just talking to kids.
Love that, dude.
And it's all about that.
Yeah.
Of course, they want to ask questions about ball, and
Yeah.
I'll definitely engage in it, but I'm quick to always spin it back to me, what really matters. You know what I mean? And it's not that ball doesn't matter, because if it wasn't for ball, the opportunities that I got in life wouldn't exist, or a lot of them wouldn't, at least in that timeline. So I'm grateful for it, but I would much prefer to talk about life.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. Well, I think about how many times they had guys come in and talk to us about life and how it just went in one ear and out the other, you know? And so from that perspective, as I would be happy and honored to share my experience of what went on with me off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not under any delusion that would, prevent a kid from having his own experience, because we're all going to be on our own journey.
Have to be.
And I mean, it's really this, it's sort of a universal principle of life that you know, people can tell you all day long, like, dude, you know, don't do that. Don't go down that road. But if you want to go down that road to see for yourself, you're going to go down that road, you know? And I guess it'll be heard by the ones who need to hear it, or the ones that are open to receive that. And we all have to make the mistakes we have to make, you know, to get to the other side.
For sure.
I did.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Yeah. And I was told a million times.
Yeah.
Have you had enough? You know, how many shots across the bow do you need? And I'm like, fuck, I'm good, dude. You know, I'm good. That cop was a dick, man.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I said that. Like, they're like, what happened? I mean, I don't know about you, but there was a couple times in my college career I had to go sit down with people you don't want to sit down with. And
in the principal's office.
Yeah, the big principal.
Yeah.
The 2-letter principal. And dude, I remember, man, I went and sat in there one time, and I'd been charged with inducing panic.
Wow.
That was the charge. And
that's a good one.
That was awesome, dude. It was essentially between, I've never told this story on here.
Nice.
It was in between a top tier misdemeanor and a bottom level felony.
Wow, bro.
Of course, it made the paper, which was great. But the story is epic.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, it was my birthday. The girl I was dating at the time had told my buddies, like, look, I'm not coming out with you, like, hooligans. Like, just bring him home when y'all are done, and I'll take care of him. And so they did, but we'd stopped at Taco Bell on the way home. I left my phone in there. And when they dropped me off at her place, she had 3 other roommates. They were athletes. And, dude, I was just shit-faced. And I didn't have my phone, and I wasn't announcing who I was. And I just started, like, knocking on doors and windows. And there was I don't know what they call them, but like a night stalker, if you will, that had been reported in the area for, like, the previous weeks. And I'm knocking on doors and windows, dude. And I get this feeling, I was like, dude, I got to take a piss, right? So I walk around the back of the house, I take a piss. By the time I got back to the front of the house, dude, the spotlights hit me, guns drawn. I mean,
wow,
everybody was there. And I was like, dude, I completely sober instantly, right? Like, oh shit, this is bad. And of course they came out and told the cops, like, no, he's good. Like, we thought it was somebody else. And they were like, it's too late, we're out here. So they took me.
Wow, dude.
And having to go sit down in that situation, you know what I'm saying, was just like, that sucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even then, I didn't straighten up, dude. I was like, oh, those cops were dicks, man. Like, they should have just let me go once the girls came outside and said I was cool. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. So I was always deflecting.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to take accountability for shit.
Yeah, of course.
And honestly, I think that was one of my greatest hindrances, was that I chose to do that on many occasions, but I also felt like I had a gift to kind of, I don't know, manipulate things to make it look like, you know, I could have some innocence in every single matter. And I think I took advantage of that. I would justify like everything.
Yeah, of course.
Internally, and then I would send it external.
Yeah.
You know, and try to get validation from others in order to protect myself. And in reality, it was just me running from myself.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even know how I got off on that tangent, but yeah, it's
no, you got to make the mistakes, dude.
you have to.
Yeah.
And they're endless.
Yeah.
Until you decide,
Yeah.
okay, I'm probably not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. When did that happen for you?
At 30.
Yeah,
my 30th birthday, actually. So drinking was always an issue. And then at 24, 25, I got around Coke. And once I tied those two together, it was off to the races, dude. It was like, oh, I can feel this way.
That was your favorite combo?
Yeah, they were best friends, man. It's like the most codependent relationship I've ever been involved in. You know, but I never did Coke sober. Like, I had to be drinking. So they needed each other.
Yeah, so you were okay with that.
Yeah. And then
I get it.
Once I quit drinking, because people ask, like, well, how hard was the Coke to quit? I was like, dude, I just had to quit drinking. And I never wanted it again. Same with cigarettes. I was a big smoker when I drank too, and that was always even in college, dude, you'd be out and like, be like, dude, he plays on the football team. I'm just chiefing down Marlboro Reds. You know what I mean? Constantly, and people are like, what the fuck is up with this dude? Like, he just doesn't care.
Yeah, you're a fucking warrior, dude.
Yeah, you got to, like, I think at that age too, when you're in that mind frame or that mindset, like, you you battle in everything.
Yeah.
Whether it's practice, you know, except the classroom, I didn't really battle in there very hard.
Yeah, who cares about that?
I didn't. You said your first semester you had your issues. I think I had a .68
Oh, wow.
GPA.
Uh-huh.
They put me on academic probation.
Did you just not go to class?
Never.
Yeah.
Never, dude.
Yeah.
Because I was like, ultimate freedom, unlimited women, unlimited booze, status.
Nobody watching over you.
What if I die tomorrow, dude? Like, that was always my justification for going out my freshman year. Well, if I die tomorrow, I would regret not going out tonight. You know? And that was it, dude. I just sent it that way.
I get it, man.
Yeah. I remember my first party in college. We were in camp, and we were in the dorms for like 2.5, almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And the O-linemen were throwing a football party at the football house, like welcome weekend. You know, big kegger. And I remember being like, dude, this is unreal.
This is heaven.
I couldn't even believe I was invited, dude. I'm on the team. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm going to go party with these guys.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't even believe I was part of the team.
Yeah.
And man, when I got there, I was instantly in love.
Yeah.
With everything that was happening. I was like, dude, what?
I remember that.
This is real life.
Yeah.
Pinch me. But yeah, you have to make your mistakes. And I tell kids this too, like, have your fun.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't move through life and live in a box, dude.
No. That's for sure.
There's way too much to experience. I think it's about learning how to experience those things in ways that don't create long-term harm, right? And maybe you call that balance. I don't know, but that's kind of how I think about it. I still have fun now. I'm sober, but I'll go to concerts. You know, I play golf. Not very good, but I'll play. And I'll do things that used to be big drinking or partying activities, and still have fun with them. But I can tell you, I don't enjoy watching football as much sober.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, there's seasons I don't watch in like a single game. And people be like, you want to come watch the game? I'm like, fuck no. They're like, so-and-so's playing. I'm like, dude, I'm good. I watched it a lot when I had teammates playing. Because I wanted to watch them.
Yeah.
You know, that was cool. Yeah. But after that, like that 10-year grace period where they're all done, it's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you got to make your mistakes, man, for sure. Like at Arizona, I'm not sure. I know Arizona State's the big party school.
Arizona was like number 1.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, dude, I wouldn't have made it probably. I wouldn't have made it. It sounds like you did pretty good, honestly. You know, to not.
Yeah. I was fuck, man. I was protected a lot too, just by guardian angels. And like, I mean, there was a night when I was fucking nearly blacked out drunk, showing up in my girlfriend's house, knocking on doors and windows and shit. Ended up sleeping in my car. Yeah. Until I heard the knock on the window, and it was my girlfriend came out to get me, because I would have froze to death in my car.
Damn.
You know, I've been like this close so many times to cops, so, you know, something. But it was always just for whatever, like, protected by something beyond what I could even really describe.
I can deeply relate, man. People have died from a lot less.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And I'll be honest, I've had to work through some of this. I feel some guilt and shame around it. Because I've lost friends, like buddies that they weren't doing a tenth of the shit I was into, dude. Like, dude, I mean, even in my late 20s, I was in Nashville one time with some friends.
Oh, you too in Nashville?
Yeah, dude, and I was in a back alley, like, smoking crack. Yeah, like left Broadway, and I was in a back alley smoking crack. And
Nashville gets wild, bro.
Weapons pulled on me, like, just like, it's cool, man. Like, no fucks given. And, dude, I don't know how many people die in that situation, you know what I mean? Or get hurt.
Yeah.
But the same thing, it was always like somebody was looking out, man.
Yeah.
And I feel some guilt around saying it still, because it's like there's probably people that didn't do as much harm as I did to others that aren't here anymore, right? And it's like, man, I feel kind of like a dickhead sometimes, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
so I try to honor that in the right ways by my living amends and
Yeah. Well, you're doing that, dude.
doing what I'm doing now. But
yeah,
I mean, you know, it's like
you're here for a reason, man.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
I mean, for me, taking accountability really took what you just said. It was when it became unavoidably clear to me how much my decisions had caused serious pain in the people that I really loved. You know, it wasn't about me. Like,
right.
I'll go into oblivion.
Yeah.
You know, but when I started to see the pain and the wreckage I caused, that was when it was like, oh, can't do it anymore.
How old were you when that switch flipped?
28, 29, 30-ish, you know?
So call that fresh out of the league.
Yeah, basically.
So you got out and it was pretty quick.
Well, I came out and I was just in shambles, dude. You know? It was a slow roller coaster ride descent into rock bottom where I was like, oh, wow. 2 hours at the gym isn't covering it up anymore. You know, the porn isn't covering it up anymore. The alcohol, the weed, I can't smoke enough weed. I can't drink enough alcohol. None of the escape valves are working anymore. Like, oh.
Yeah.
I got to really get clear about who the fuck I am and what's going on in here.
Yeah.
You know, that was probably 2 years out of the league where it just hit me like a fucking freight train, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had no choice because it was either I was going to kill myself or get right.
Yeah. Same.
You know?
Same moment.
And I think that's where we have to get to. For some of us.
Yeah.
You know, one of my mentors, he said to me, Ed, you know, in the world we live in, we can either evolve through pain or insight. And it feels like for most of us, the only path is to evolve through pain because we're not going to do it. How many times did you get the download when you woke up hungover as fuck, feeling like dog shit, and you still were like, you know, a little hair of the dog will fix it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get back on the horse, you know.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, you know, oh, I need to change. You know, it takes like serious pain where there's just nowhere else to go.
Yeah. I think about, you know, you mentioned the end in your life thing. That's one of the things when I go to schools, there's been a couple schools that'll say like, hey, don't talk about that. And I would be like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell my story.
Yeah.
Without that because
like,
there's
what
kids,
are you going to say?
Well, there's kids sitting out here in the audience right now that are feeling that.
Uh-huh.
And for me not to say something,
yeah,
like they need to know they're not alone in that shit. You know, but it got to the point for me where it was like I was getting drunk and high so I wouldn't hurt myself, which is a fucked up place to be. Right? You're harming yourself just so you don't harm yourself completely.
Uh-huh.
You know? And really that's what all those escape valves do. It's like
yeah,
you're just making the hole deeper.
Uh-huh.
And then that's when it gets terrifying to face because you're like, holy shit, like it's so deep at this point.
Yeah.
The years that I'm going to have to face, the conversations that I'm going to have, the amends, right? Facing people that I've avoided for a decade. That shit can be terrifying, dude. You know?
So terrifying. And I will say that as terrifying as it is, it's really important to understand that making those amends, deciding to do it differently is such a better route to take than taking your own life.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
It's like the pain you cause by taking your life. It's just more of that.
Yep.
You know?
Right.
For the people in your life.
That are already hurt.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, I mean, it's, you know, and it's one of those things that's, it's so difficult and it's so painful and dude, because there's so much forgiveness, you know, there's so much opportunity for forgiveness and grace.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what That's what God's love is all about, you know,
Right.
and it's here eternally for us to tap into. But we've got to be willing to do that for ourselves rather than, you know, say that what we've done is totally unforgivable and we can never go back. You
Right.
can always go back, you know, you can always make amends.
That's true. Yeah, I think for me, I remember we were talking about relief valves. The first one I felt in sobriety was after I did my 4 steps. So essentially like,
Oh yeah, that's transformative, dude.
and I remember being in meetings and people saying like, people would say, I've never felt so good after getting that out.
Mm-hmm.
And I really looked forward to that feeling.
Uh-huh.
And I pursued it like I would pursue a game plan, like fucking hard.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to do it to the max.
Uh-huh.
And I remember it was like just pages and pages and pages of shit.
Yeah.
And I flew to Austin actually to talk through it or go over it with my sponsor at the time, looking forward to this feeling of elation. And I'll never forget, dude, I got through the whole thing and I didn't feel shit.
Really?
No, I went home though, or back to I was staying downtown.
Uh-huh.
And I fell asleep, dude. I slept for like 18 hours.
Wow.
That was my relief.
Uh-huh.
And then when I woke up, I knew. I was like, oh shit. Okay, I just offloaded
Yeah.
a lot of my life.
Yeah.
But it also opened up this door of like, there's got to be more to do,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I know I didn't get everything out right
Uh-huh.
there. And my therapy journey would kind of start around that time too, working with a counselor and different therapists, but that's a story for later.
Yeah, yeah. The 4th step is a profound thing.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
insane.
It was a life-changing experience for me as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you're comfortable talking about it. I kind of tiptoe around it a lot of times just because I do believe in the anonymity of the program.
Yeah.
But I would like to ask you. So I think that I don't know if it's an athlete thing or not. I guess I'm getting ready to draw that conclusion. From the time you started your program until you went through the program, the step work for the first time, what was that timeline for you?
Maybe about a year. I mean, I was so primed, dude. By the time I got to the program, I was on my hands and knees.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's when it's best. Dude.
Yeah. I was just there. I was just like, it was food for my soul, you know. I was about on that. I was on the other side of I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to get right. And I got invited to an Al-Anon meeting.
Okay.
And I was just totally surrendered, you know. It was just, there was no, I needed help.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, I was suffocating, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was, you know, it was about a year probably. I got a sponsor and started working the steps. And, you know, for me, Al-Anon really fit the mold because I didn't have a drinking disease. I had a thinking disease. That's what they say in Al-Anon, you know.
I like that.
And since then, I've done a lot of different recovery programs, a lot of different 12-step. But, you know, having spent my childhood in AA meetings and then going into AA meetings, I never felt like it really, you know, calling myself an alcoholic just didn't hit the bell for me.
Right.
You know, It was something else for me. Which, like I said, I mean, I would definitely, I wouldn't even call myself an addict, but I do suffer from the disease of addiction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of where I land with it.
You know?
Too. It never felt right for me either. I remember the first time I said out loud, you know, hey, my name's Trip, I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah. It feels like, you know, inside. I mean, in some people, hey, it really works, man.
Yeah, and dude.
And God bless them. God bless the program.
Well, that's what I always say. Like, so I'm no longer actively involved in the program. But if anybody, and I mean anybody, comes to me and they say, like, I have somebody who's, like, ready. Or if someone comes to me and says, I'm ready. That's the first place I point to. Like,
100%.
There's no better track record.
Yeah.
I would almost rather send them to a good AA group than a rehab if they don't have to detox, right?
Yeah.
Just because, like, I've seen...
A lot of rehabs are these weird.
Yeah.
You know, it gets weird in there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I've been, you know, I didn't personally go into a rehab. but a lot of people close to me have. And I'd been in a relationship with a girl that did.
Uh-huh.
And I watched I got to see firsthand like their experience. And I remember being grateful that I didn't go in because I'm like, I'd have been fucked, dude.
Uh-huh.
You know, the things that were happening in there were blowing my mind.
Yeah.
You know, they all, you know, all of the friends that I know that went were in a relationship within like 4 days. Right. So then they just basically transferred their addictive traits into that.
Yeah. Into it took another form.
Right. And then as soon as they got out, they kind of were like, well, I'll just get back to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why I feel better classifying myself as an addict anyway. Because honestly, for me, that word represents a lot more than drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah.
You know, and it could be positive. Like that's the other thing I've put that own spin on it in my own head where it's like, you know, Kobe was an addict.
Yeah.
You know, MJ was an addict.
They
just kind of they applied it to different things.
Yeah.
That honestly served them and the people around them in a better way.
Yeah.
And I still have an addictive personality. I mean, between training and running and exercise and business, I don't like turning it off.
Yeah.
I still struggle having idle hands, like sitting with myself at times.
Yeah, that's been the big thing for me the last couple of years.
You've been working on that specifically.
Yeah, learning how to rest, man. You know, I know, it's an interesting thing. Because our culture doesn't really, there's no value in rest.
Right.
You know, just turn on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, which I've turned off over the last 6 months. But learning how to rest, which is really about learning how to be with myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my practice, which is a profound one, you know, because you really get into what I've found is you really take yourself off the hamster wheel of just doing to do. Mm-hmm. And get into like, what am I really supposed to be doing? You know, where should I really be putting my energy?
Right.
I've burned myself out more times than I can count, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, even in the last 10 years, I mean, it's been just like a cycle of burnout, you know, whatever I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And that to me is really, it was, a pattern of not knowing how to rest, not really knowing how to be, and just doing to do. Because I think that's where my value lives and what I'm doing. You know, how much I'm building, or how much money I'm making, or do I look like a guy who's got it all together? You know, and it's like, fuck all that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, back to the positive spin on being an addict, you know, in the program, they talk a lot about our defects are also our assets. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the things that brought us into the program, the flip side of them is they're fucking superpowers,
right?
Too, you know? So I think, you know, man, if it works for you, great. You know, if you're the guy that is on the David Goggins jam and you're fucking like, fuck pain, you know, I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. and run 100 miles, and then I'm going to lift weights for 4 hours, and then I'm going to do whatever. Great. You know, that hasn't been sustainable for me because I tried that, you know.
And I'm learning that right now.
Yeah.
It's not for me either, long term.
Yeah.
And
I don't think it is for anybody. I don't think it's, especially where we're going, where the planet's going, where humans are going, like it's not a sustainable pathway to just grind.
No, I wrote it for a long time, man. And it kept me sober. I'll be straight with it. Like,
sure.
It kept me completely sober.
Sure.
For a long time. But this past February, so, you know, a little less than a month ago, or yeah, almost a month to the date, I did my last ultra endurance event, 100-mile ultra
Amazing,
marathon.
Dude.
But I've been training for it for 3 years, dude. Like my body's fucked. You see me like over here wincing and moving around like it's like last Tuesday.
What hurts? Everything?
Everything, dude. And it just destroyed me.
Yeah, for sure.
And the only time I felt good is if I was moving.
Uh-huh.
And I started to realize, man, like, I don't want to live like that forever.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to be able to sit down one day and just be like,
yeah,
hell yeah.
yeah.
You know, I'm good. I really look forward to that.
Do you have kids?
Not yet.
No?
That's the goal.
Okay.
I see marriage and kids in the near future. Though.
Okay, cool, man.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by our official sponsor, Sun Life Organics. Love, heal, and inspire. Sun Life Organics is a juice bar that has locations all across the United States, providing only the highest quality organic ingredients. I love it. Personally, I go just about every day. My favorite smoothie is the Holy Cow. It's packed with 50 grams of protein, and it always helps me recover. Go find one near you. Another official sponsor of today's podcast is Noble Origins. Noble is a grass-fed beef protein complex, utilizing everything in the cow from nose to tail. It's personally my favorite protein. I like the vanilla the best. I like to mix it with raw milk. That is my favorite combination, but the chocolate is also amazing. I also had mentioned with additional sponsor, Sun Life Organics, that they have a shake smoothie called the Holy Cow. They also utilize Noble protein in order to hit that 50 grams in that shake. So again, go order it. Check them out, nobleorigins.com. Use code ADY for 15% off. Love y'all. But I want to be able to do shit with them.
Yeah, of course, dude.
You know?
Of course.
And I was a big practice player in college. So basically I had the redshirt freshman experience for 5 years. You know, I traveled and I was on the 2 deep the last 3 years and I ended up earning a scholarship. All that shit's great. But
love that, dude.
Most of my time was getting the hell beat out of me, dude. I told you about the 2 guys, or asked you about those 2 guys out there. My last 2 years, I played scout team D-line, and they were left guard, left tackle. And dude, like,
yeah,
you know, 8 years in the league, 10 years in the league, in the offensive line, as you know, is like, it's not a fucking joke.
No, dude. It's a special individual, honestly.
And they, you know, they took really good care of me for the most part. Because we were boys.
Yeah.
They knew. And I was like, I'm not going to fuck
dude.
you. Like, don't fuck me. I know you're stronger. I know you're bigger. I know you're faster. Like, we're all here for a reason.
Yeah.
But they only got me one time, man. And it was the OC's fault. 100%. I was, it was Army week, actually. And so Army week, I'll just be honest, at that point, our senior year, we were pretty damn good. So we were kind of just like
cruising.
Yeah, like no need to fucking go buck wild.
But the OC got in everybody's ass.
Well, he got on my ass first.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, "What are you just fucking half-assing all day long?
We need a fucking look.
We need a fucking look." And I remember looking at him like, "Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, look at me. I'm a play hard guy. I'm a try hard guy. I'm an effort guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give you everything I got.
Yeah.
But like, if I piss them off, they're gonna fuck me up, dude. I'm not stupid either."
Yeah.
And he's like, "We need a fucking look." He's like, "You either give it or like I'll get some dipshit freshman." I was like, "All right, fuck it." So I told my boys, I was like, "Look,
I'm gonna go.
You just heard that shit. I'm going. I'm splitting you 2 motherfuckers. You can do whatever you want." And dude, I'll never forget. I've never been ragdolled like that. And I never will for the rest of my life. There's no way. But I remember like leaving my feet. And I, like, as soon as you're like, you know as well as I do, like there's that feeling like you get like just enough levitated, you're fucked.
Yeah, you're
done.
You're done.
And that's what happened, dude. And they just kept going up the elevator and dumped me on my head and my back. And I remember when that happened, I like put my arm out like this to brace. And I caught myself. And the left tackle looked at me like he was like coming at me still, and he just speared me as I was on the ground. And dude, the back of my hand clapped the back of my shoulder, and it blew everything, like UCL, all that. And I'll never forget that, dude. He's still trying to pay for me to get stem cell shit. Yeah, I just talked to him a couple weeks ago. He's like, "Dude, anytime, just let me know." He still feels bad about it.
That's nice.
I was like, "Dude, don't worry about it. Like, I get it."
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, that was that I was kind of leading into injuries too. I think talking about like people don't realize you don't have to be a starter to get fucked up.
Yeah.
You just play the game, you get fucked up.
Yeah.
You know, concussions happen in practice.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you a little bit about your experience in that.
Concussions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even in those early years, like people were talking about it, right?
Yeah, it was a taboo thing when I was playing. I mean,
Right. I mean, everyone was fucked up.
yeah, dude.
Like it
Got my bell rung?
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean?
part of the deal.
There was only I have 5 confirmed, which meant all that means is like I was so fucked up they had to like pull me.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? 'Cause I didn't know where the fuck I was at.
Yeah.
Couldn't speak or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But I can't tell you like how many.
Yeah.
There's no telling, dude.
Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you. I mean, you played a lot longer with guys a lot faster and a lot stronger than I did.
Yeah.
Would you say that was a big part of the slow roller coaster towards rock bottom? Do you think it contributed?
I mean, undoubtedly. You know, labeling it that 100%. I mean, I've had to come to terms with the fact that, you know, I've done damage to myself that I'll live with for the rest of my life, you know. My history with concussions, subconcussive hits, I mean, you know, they say O-linemen experience it more than anybody because
Right.
we're just every play, you know. It definitely is what makes my daily routine and my life practices so imperative for me. Meditation, breath work, eating clean, limiting inflammation in my body as much as possible because, I mean, the holes are deep and dark, you know?
Yeah.
So I have to keep, it's a constant daily management of my state of well-being. You know, I never reported a concussion, was probably concussed more times than I even realize. My second, maybe my first year in Chicago, which was like my 5th year in the league, was the only time that I was aware that, oh shit, I was concussed. Like I was in a dark hole for 3 days. And I remember the hit. It was against this linebacker in practice. And I wasn't the same for 3 days. Like I was in a deep dark hole. You know, and looking back, I was like, oh, I had a concussion. You know,
Right.
No question. Didn't say anything. Because again, at that time it was CTE. This whole conversation was just starting.
Right.
Around that time. But, you know, it was something that was there constantly. And I think, you know, for whatever, better or worse, I think the league's definitely gotten, you know, we get into a whole existential conversation around football and should it even be a thing, really?
Right.
Because to some degree, all of the rules that they've created have fucked the game up, you know?
Right.
And also, it's imperative to understand that these dudes are human beings who are experiencing, you know, G-forces of impact that, you know, you don't experience in a car wreck in like a one-on-one hit, you know? So, I mean, it's part of the game. It was something that I saw a lot of. I mean, I remember when there were teammates I had teammates who just kind of disappeared during my career. Like that season, you know, they just kind of like got taken out, were being evaluated, you know, doing the tests and in the protocol at that time, which they had like some computer test.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
Which
was bullshit.
Yeah, it was like, I don't even know what it was.
Well, what we were told directly or indirectly, however you want to look at it, what we might have been told was that when you take it, we would take it every year during camp.
To get a baseline.
And they would basically be like, look, you don't got to try too hard right now.
Yeah.
Basically telling you to fuck it up.
Yeah,
So that way when you came back and you scored better, you're clear. You know what I mean? Oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
But really, you just fucked the first round.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Yeah,
No, yeah. But yeah, there were guys that, you know, looking back, it was like, man, they were struggling severely with post-concussive syndrome, the beginnings of CTE. Anybody listening, CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, basically early onset dementia caused by recurring impact to the brain. But yeah, I was saying you were concussed was something that wasn't even on my radar, dude.
Yeah.
And I had my bell rung in practice so many times. I mean, I can't even really count. Where I'd come out as like fucking explosion in the head, come out a little dizzy, a little high.
Yeah.
And you just, go about, you'd keep practicing. Never thought anything of it.
Yeah, I always knew for me when I would find myself asking myself a ton of questions. That was always my trigger of like, you're fucked up right now.
Oh, interesting.
It'd be weird shit. It'd be like, all right, what period are we in?
And
then like, how much time's left in the period?
Uh-huh.
Or I'd like scout team, especially because we had cards. They weren't calling out plays. Or I'd see the card and get up there and be like, fuck it, I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
just send it. All right.
Yeah. Go hard.
Yeah, and I mean that's a lot of my memory around it, or like when I would know. But as far as just getting hit was just normal. And honestly, like we signed up for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
I tell
man.
people that they're like, don't, are you mad that this wasn't in place? I was like,
what was in place?
right.
I mean,
I signed up for that shit.
Yeah, dude.
I
That's
think
why I was there. I was there to fucking kill.
Yeah, that was the best part of the game.
Yeah.
Was hitting. All the other shit kind of sucked, but
It was a real love-hate relationship with football. Always.
For sure.
Well, it's hard as fuck. It's hot as fuck.
Or cold as fuck.
Or cold as fuck.
Right.
Like you're uncomfortable all the time.
Yeah.
It's not this glorious thing, dude. The best part about it is that you got to fuck people up and be celebrated for it.
Yeah. And not get in trouble.
Yeah.
Really.
You have to just dominate somebody. And everybody's patting you on the back, telling you how great you are.
Yeah.
Like, cool, man. Yeah. Okay.
It's a good feeling.
I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it again.
Well, I think what the rules have really done, and I understand conceptually, right? Like let's protect people's well-being. They're humans.
No, I think it's good long term for the game, but as far as like the product that's on the field, it's
trash.
It's fucking, it's soft.
Well, if you think about it this way, what they've really done is eliminate an entire category of players.
Uh-huh.
Like, you think about James Harrison, he's a Kent State guy.
Oh, yeah? Was he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Kent State guy.
Yeah, beast.
His whole
Legend.
MO, Debo, is like, I'm here to fucking murder, dude. He did an episode on it was either the Pivot or one of those podcasts recently, and they'd asked him, they were like, did you like fucking your friends up too? And he's like, oh, hell yeah, because then we could talk about it later. He's like, you didn't see me knock Josh Cribbs the fuck out? He's like, he was my college quarterback. He's like, we took him to dinner after the game. But that was just him, right? He's like, he wanted to punish. That's why he was there.
Yeah, dude.
And there's a lot of players, I think, that made it to that level just because that was their route.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost that a little bit.
Yeah.
That part of the game.
Well, yeah, dude. And NIL, social media, all this shit, it's turned these guys into entertainers.
Right.
It's about, are you an entertainer? I'm not here to get hurt, bro.
Yeah,
I'm here to dazzle and razzle and fucking look good, man.
Right.
I'm not here to fuck people up.
Right. Right. Yeah. But that's the whole reason I fell in love with the game.
Dude, me too, man. I wouldn't have played.
You could have, at that age, if you'd have been like, hey, you can't hit anymore, but we'll give you, $20,000 a year. I'd have been like, fuck that. Like, I'm not playing.
What? For what?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
This is my therapy. So you guys don't want me out here in the streets without, some form of this.
Yeah.
That was a big transition thing for me, though, was learning or trying to find a way to express any feeling once the game was gone. And not just in between the whistles either. Like, no one says like, hey, you have 104 brothers in college. NFL, you guys got 53-man roster plus practice squad.
Yep.
When you lose that, like that daily, like being surrounded by people that are your kind.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah.
And that's really for me. Hard. I ended up in a hole quick because of that. I was kind of just isolated. I didn't feel like anyone understood.
Yeah.
It was just it was difficult, and
Well,
that's to put it lightly.
That's an interesting part about the culture of the football guys, because we definitely isolate ourselves when we're out of that.
Right.
It's the same. I mean, the league, it's the same. I mean, we get together. There's get-togethers, like the NFL, PA has chapter meetings and shit. I've gone to a couple. I think they can be great, but for the most part, like, we're all pretty isolated, you know? And that leads to a lot of problems.
Yeah.
You know, isolating yourself. And by the same token, you know, like we're doing here, you come into contact with a guy who played D1 or pro football or any type of football, probably past the level of high school, because anybody who just played high school football, you don't quite identify the same way, you know. But like you jump in, there's a brotherhood there.
Yeah.
You know, like we can talk, like, because we speak the same language. We've been through the same experience together, you know. But yeah, we definitely isolate ourselves. I did it too, you know, and I still do it. Mm-hmm. It's definitely something that I have to actively be aware of and get myself into rooms and groups of people that share and communicate and connect, you know, because otherwise I'll just sit at home.
That's me. Yeah. I mean, this is the most human interaction I've had in 4 days.
Uh-huh.
Just it's me and my dog, man.
Yeah.
And sometimes that feels very healthy.
Yeah. No, I think it's good.
As I've gotten better at being with myself.
Yeah.
But before I started working on that at all, it wasn't very healthy.
Yeah.
Right, the things I was doing. So
yeah, it's
just, I think that part of it, I wonder what creates that isolation need. I don't know for sure. In football,
I think we're fucking angry. We feel like we're not good enough. We feel like nobody gets it. Nobody understands. Right. I mean, that's true too.
Right.
Nobody understands what we've been through.
Right.
You know, that's like, I've spent a lot of time around military vets somehow. I mean, just kind of like how it's worked out, but they always say the same thing to me. They're like, yeah, you know, what you talk about, the journey of being a football player, it's so similar to my experience coming out of the military. Like nobody, you just like don't have people who you can talk to.
Right.
Because they're like, you just don't, not the common civilian doesn't really understand what we were in. We were in a decade long more like fight or flight response.
Yeah.
You know, like every day we were getting up to go and fight, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like when we talk about football, I don't know who told me this, but it always stuck. You know, it's not a collision sport. It's a fucking combat sport. You know, it's like fighting. I mean, you might as well be fighting. And so when you're in that every day and you're doing it willingly and consciously.
Right.
And not only that, you're doing whatever it takes to get yourself out of pain to go do it. Everything hurts. Fucking neck hurts. You can't turn your head most days.
Right.
Your back hurts. Your feet hurt. Just tape it up, pop a pill, get out there, dude. Yeah. You know, just fucking do it. And not many people understand that.
Right.
That, you know, I always used to, you know, looking around the NFL locker room, college is the same. I mean, you have to have a few screws loose to be playing at that level. Yeah. You know, that's not a normal individual.
No.
That's not a normal, mentally healthy, functional human being. For the most part.
I agree.
I mean, I played with some guys, feels like, interestingly, like Mormon guys or guys who are super Christian were always kind of the healthiest dudes. Like,
I get that.
Like, because they were about like their family or their faith. Like they had this thing that was kind of bigger than football.
Right.
But for the rest of us, it's like, we're really sick, dude.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, like this is what we're doing. We're fucking gladiators, you know?
I think it's such a great point you just made, actually, that I've never thought of it that way. But like if faith's the priority, football only exists because of their faith.
Uh-huh.
For us, everything that existed was only because of football.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it was I mean, I don't want to call it, I mean, I made it a god, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, we did for sure.
And then so like you would expect anyone who loses their god to suffer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, that's kind of how I think about it. You brought up painkillers.
Yeah.
And dealing with pain. Was your first experience with like a Toradol, or was it an opiate? Like, was it in college? When did that kick off?
I guess it was in college, the first experiences with them. I always had really bad reactions to them.
Okay.
Talked about it a lot. One story I'll tell after this, but just to give you an example of my relationship physiologically with opiates was I was after my shoulder surgery. I was prescribed Vicodin or something. And pretty sure it was Vicodin. And I was totally experiencing full withdrawal symptoms after 3 days of prescribed use. Like waking up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, body shakes, chills, knifing sensation in my gut, just like craving the chemical.
Shit.
And that's why cannabis became my preferred source of pain management. I used weed for probably like the last 3 years primarily, other than like an Advil here and there. Because it was just like every time I took an opiate, it was like massive withdrawal symptoms. I'd get migraines. I'd have all sorts of crazy shit. And I did this DNA test years after my football career that said I have some genetic marker that predisposes me to severe side effects with opiates, which was interesting. So anyway, that being said, in college, my freshman year, I was dealing with something. I think I popped a rib out in my back. You ever done that?
Yeah.
That's a fun one.
Yeah.
You can't breathe. It's
Dude,
like,
shit.
And that one stays with you your whole life. Like I deal with that here and there. I'll sleep weird and my fucking rib will go out.
Yeah.
And I'll have like a spasm in my back.
The worst.
Just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I popped this rib out in my back. And so I think they gave me Percocet. And I don't know if I've ever shared this on a podcast before. I've shared it with very seldomly, actually, because it scared the fuck out of me. The first day I took this Percocet, and I went over to my girlfriend's house. I fell asleep, and I literally felt myself dying.
Damn.
Like lungs stopped working, and I woke up gasping for air. And I was like, holy shit, like I'm gonna fucking die if I fall asleep having taken this shit, because it was literally shutting off my autonomic nervous system. And so, long story short, my relationship with opiates, while I used them at various points, like it was very clear that they were not a good ally, know. And I think they seldom are for anybody.
Yeah.
Because you can't, they're one of those, they're a substance that once it gets its hooks in you, it's a fucking real long, hard road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we talk a lot about it on here because one of the biggest stigmas around addiction is tied to heroin.
Uh-huh.
But, I had a college teammate, hell of a player.
Uh-huh.
Ended up going to Saints training camp, got cut. But going into his senior year, he was probably projected 4th round.
Uh-huh.
Good player. Played in the back end. And he got hurt. He was playing at LSU and blew his knee, essentially, and started taking Percocet the next week. Went to Penn State, had like 14 tackles on Percocet.
Yeah, sure.
And he's like, fuck, dude.
Fuck
Play
it.
way better on this shit.
Yeah. Fuck it, man.
Dude, like it was, I think, I want to say 8 to 9 weeks later was senior night. and it was his first time doing heroin because he couldn't get any more opiates.
God.
That quick. Went to training camp on heroin.
God, dude.
Lost like 30 pounds in those 8-9 weeks. Just done.
Holy shit.
So I tell people all the time, dude, I'm like, careful with that stigma, because a lot of these people that suffer with the heroin addiction, it started with a doctor saying, hey, man,
Yeah,
this
of
is going to
course.
help you, bro,
Yeah.
or sis, whatever.
Yeah.
And our culture, our society, we're brought up to trust that information, right? Why would you question someone with a fucking doctorate or a medical degree that's telling me this is going to help me and make me better,
Yeah.
and that I'll be okay as long as I take it as prescribed?
Yeah.
But to your point, like, it sounds like you took the first dose as prescribed, but it fucked you up.
Yeah.
You know
Oh,
what
I
I mean?
took it totally prescribed, dude. I was taking the 2 pills every 3 hours, like it said on the bottle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
3 days in, man.
That's crazy.
Severe withdrawal symptoms.
Mm.
Like, what's happening to me? You know?
Yeah. No, I think that the opiate thing, it hit a lot of athletes.
Oh, yeah. Big
Um,
problem. I mean, it's one of the reasons why coming out of football, I got big into cannabis advocacy,
Yeah.
which then I had my own whole journey with cannabis too. I mean, I don't smoke weed anymore, and it served me for a while and then doesn't anymore, you know?
What's your take on like sobriety and cannabis? Just
Mm,
I'm just curious. I have one that's probably not in complete alignment.
I don't think you can claim that you're sober if you're smoking weed.
Right.
Just sorry, you know. No, I don't think you can claim that. If you're claiming that you're sober, you're doing nothing but maybe caffeine and maybe some nicotine.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, you can't claim you're sober if you're smoking weed.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too.
It's just how it is.
That's how I feel about it too.
It's fine. I think it's a great medicine it was a super important medicine for me for a long time until it wasn't, you know? I mean, I spent 30 days in treatment, dude.
Okay.
In like a really incredible treatment center, for cannabis and kratom, you know? And I was stuck in a fucking really intense cycle with it, you know? Like, I couldn't function without it.
Wow.
You know, I mean, sure, I wasn't having withdrawals, but I was just like, life is just, what am I doing?
Right.
You know, my life is fucking boring as fuck if I'm not high,
Yeah.
you know?
I get it.
Weed'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it. I believe if you're going to have to navigate an injury and you're an athlete, I think cannabis is a way better option than opiates.
No question.
You know,
No question.
Use that. It's not going to take the pain away. Although I don't think opiates really take any pain away either. You're still in fucking pain.
Yeah.
It just makes you kind of lifeless, you know, and it reduces your body's capacity to heal.
Right.
Cannabis will actually support your body's ability to heal. So you might as well at least do that and reframe the pain a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think the pushback was so heavy for the longest, as far as like, you know,
Weed?
yeah. What was that based in?
Well, it's just, you know, cannabis has been massively stigmatized since the 50s and demonized by the federal government for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not any of them really, in my opinion, substantive, like having any real basis in reality. But, you know, it's a Schedule 1 narcotic for a long time. I'm not sure where it is now. I'm kind of confused on where they've gone to with it. I mean, it seems like it's kind of legal everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of loopholes, which I think gets dicey too, because now you have people that are just smoking weed all the time, which, you know, hey, you can go to the liquor store and get as much alcohol as you want. And that's never been a problem, I guess, since Prohibition. But, you know, so it's a fine line between like our freedom as Americans, which I think is it's a pillar of what it means to be in the United States, you know, freedom to choose. And so, but it becomes a slippery slope when you're dealing with something that gets sort of glorified as a medicine, or, you know, which it is. However, the medicine is also the poison.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That brings up an interesting topic. I think the biggest crock of shit I was ever sold was that marijuana was the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Like, I never once smoked pot and was like, dude, let's get an 8-ball.
Yeah.
That never happened, dude.
No.
But drinking led to a lot of
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Dude.
Alcohol is a big gateway. No doubt.
And we hand it out like it's fucking nothing.
Yeah, totally.
You walk across the street and get as much as you want right now. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you brought up Kratom, same shit.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Kratom's fucking a lot of people up, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have some close buddies that have reached out and, like,
oh, yeah, bro.
they don't know what the fuck to do. Like,
it had me in its grips.
Dude, I've heard, like, pretty crazy withdrawals.
Yeah. Well, it's an opiate.
Right, it attaches to those receptors.
It's an opiate. Oh, but it's a plant, bro.
So is
all
opium.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your experience of it, though?
Yeah.
You know? That's the real question. And again, comes back to, doesn't matter what the thing is, dude. What's your relationship to it?
Right.
Are you waking up every day going, I need this to be okay? Might be a problem, because you're starting to have that inner conflict around the thing.
Right.
And you're starting to cultivate this energy of tension inside yourself in your relationship to it, because you can't have your day be the person you think you're supposed to be without it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a problem there. There's something to be looked at there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's funny, like you said, it could be a lot of things, man.
Yeah, it could be a lot of things. It's not even just substances. I mean, people are using fucking spirituality now to do the same thing.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true. That's true.
They're going, oh, I do ayahuasca, bro. I know. Like, oh, do you?
Yeah.
But you're still, like, cheating on girls and fucking around and causing all sorts of pain in the world around you. So
Right.
really, is it working for you?
Right.
Oh, okay, cool, man. You do breath work? Dope.
Yeah.
Dope, bro. Are you a person who's hitting every escape valve you can at every opportunity? Or are you a person who's learning how to just be with yourself and be with everything that's fucking uncomfortable and not the fun thing, and not, you know, going to the pleasure trip every time, but you're just able to be with yourself, be with the hard things, you know? And this conversation's been coming up a lot, so I was interested to share it with you and hear your thoughts on it, because I feel like you're on that path as well. But you know, when you think about what it means to be a man in this day and age, because we don't have to go hunt the buffalo anymore,
Right.
Bring back the kill to the women and children. You know, we don't have to fight off invaders and keep the territory secure from outsiders. So what is it that we bring to the world as men in this day and age? And when you think about the masculine presence in the world, it's really about holding the structure. It's about being the solid point. It's about being someone who can be relied upon and trusted. And I've been talking with some dudes that I work with about core values. Like, what are your core values? And that was an interesting thing for me to think about, because when the question was first asked of me, I was like, fuck, I don't even know. I don't even know what a core value is.
Right.
You know? Like, I literally had to look at a sheet of paper and then go on Chat GPT and, like, say, like, what are core values? Like, give me a list of core values. And once you see them, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense to me. I'll share mine in a second. But, you know, when you start to look at what are your core values really about, for me, it's authenticity. Like, to live without a mask, to live without pretense. Like, when I show up here with you, you're asking me, how do I introduce you? Dude, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I'm me. You know,
Yeah.
I'm Eben. You know, I'm a fucking, I'm an ex-NFL player. I'm a fucking yogi, podcaster, author. Some people want to call me a wellness leader, guru. Sure, I'll take it. You know, but I'm not walking around like that.
No.
Like that person,
Right.
that persona.
Right.
So authenticity, really big to me. Like just being totally true with whatever's here right now. Just being this. I don't know. Maybe it's cool. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but it's real.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't give a fuck, dude. You know, it's taken me a long time to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm not walking into a room trying to figure out, like, how do you need me to be, dude?
Right. Yeah.
How do you need me to be so that you think I'm a worthy individual? No, I'm fucking worthy because I am. You know? I am me. Like, I know inside. Like, I'm worthy of being here. I'm valid just in my fucking waking up today. Mm-hmm. Not because I have a podcast or I wrote a book or I played fucking pro football. Those are all cool things, which has also taken me a long time to recognize and go like, man, I've done some cool shit in my life and I'm really proud of it all, you know, and I've made a lot of mistakes and what a journey it's been, you know? So authenticity, integrity. Integrity is a big one for me. You know, when I started writing them down, I'm like, authenticity, honesty, truth, integrity, kind of like are all this matrix of like something that's really vital for me to feeling okay, for me to feeling good in my heart and my soul, you know?
Yeah.
And all of them have a little bit of nuance that all have to do with truth. You know, authenticity, like I said, it's about living without a mask. Mm-hmm. So when I come into a room, you're just getting me. You're not getting some, you know, fucking guy trying to be something.
Right.
You know. Integrity, let's start with honesty. Honesty is like honesty with your words, how you express yourself. You're honest. Your words are honest. You speak honestly and openly. So your words are true about what's going on in here. Integrity is this kind of interesting living alignment with the things that you think and believe and the words that you speak. Mm-hmm. So you're living in integrity when you say you're some person and then you're living by that expression, right? So those things are really important to me. Like, and you know, the interesting thing when you start to look at values that I noticed is it's not necessarily things that I'm conscious of. Like I'm not walking around going, oh, I want to be authentic, you know? But when I'm not authentic, I feel how fucked up and gross it feels inside, you know?
Yeah.
When I'm living out of integrity, I feel this discord in my inner being,
right?
You know? So there are things that you only kind of recognize after the fact if you're not living in accordance with them, you know? So those things are really important to me. Then freedom to express myself, freedom to be. I don't want some fucking authority figure, government or otherwise, telling me what the fuck I can do or can't do.
Right.
Freedom is really important to me. Creativity, family. That's about the core of it for me. Resilience is something, again, that's intrinsic. That's like, I've just learned how to get up, dust myself off after I've been flat-backed, you know, over and over again. Probably learned that in football, you know, or from my childhood, you know, both. But so you start to think about your core values. As a man, I think this is particularly useful. Being, you know, as a being who holds the masculine presence in the world. You know, and so then what are we talking about when we're talking about what it means to be a man? It means to be someone who lives in concert or in alignment with some sort of value system that creates a structure that other people can lean on, particularly women and children, who they can go, I trust that motherfucker. I rely on him. I believe that when I have an issue, be it physical, emotional, mental, I can go to them and that's a safe place to go because it's going to be dealt with in a way that allows me to feel secure, safe, like we're getting somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
And we live in a world where women don't trust men.
Right.
Women think men are fucking either totally useless, we're buffoons, or we're treacherous. A lot of children, I mean, look at a lot of television. You know, who are the father figure is always like a fucking buffoon.
Yep.
Who's totally useless.
Yeah.
You know? So just going back to this idea, and the escape valves are instances where we choose something over living in alignment with the values that we hold to be important, that create a solid structure for people to live within, you know?
Yeah.
Like you think about the man as the mountain, the woman is the ocean, you know? Anyway, it's just been something that's come up for me a lot lately, and I've been talking with guys about it. I host a men's group call, which you would be great to come and hang out if you're ever down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
It's a great group of guys, and we have a lot of fun. I kind of run it like a 12-step, but it's pretty open.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, like, it's not recovery based or anything like that. It's really just men coming in to have a safe place to connect and hang out and talk and share. And
It's needed.
yeah. Anyway, we've been talking about that, and you know, and again, part of me goes, who cares? Who gives a shit? You know, there is that.
Yeah.
You know, in the ultimate scope of the universe, like, who cares, Eb? You know, just jack off, bro. You know, just smoke weed, just drink, just go into Pleasure Dome, bro. But for me, it feels really important. Like the man I want to be, the relationships I want to have with my ex-wife, with my girlfriend, with my daughter, like my family, my mother, my father, my brother, like all the relationships that really mean a lot to me. Like I want to be someone who can be relied upon.
Yeah.
You know, and who people go like, that's a solid motherfucker right there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Anyway, I thought I'd bring it up to you, just hear your thoughts on it. What your experience has been as a man who's chosen to live by some principles that emerge, and this is the caveat to it, principles that have emerged out of necessity because you've seen where the other way goes, you know?
I'd say the first one that comes to mind for me, and I have I talked a little bit about this on a different podcast, actually. I'd ask someone else, like, give me 3 core values that you think make a great man.
Love that. What did they come up with?
So it was like character, integrity, and love.
All right.
And I was like, okay.
Those are good.
And I think that, I don't know if everyone's will ever be the same, and that's great. We need that balance.
Yeah.
For me, though, integrity always comes up first because I lived a lie for so long.
Yeah.
And that's
no doubt.
That's what integrity means to me is, yes, honesty is speaking truth. Integrity is doing truth, right? And sticking in that.
Yeah.
When it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It's easy to be integrous, if you will, when times are smooth.
Yeah.
And your family's around and they're loving on you and gassing you up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really hard, though, when shit's not going right.
Yeah.
To sit in that and be like, nope, I'm going to do the right fucking thing right now. But what that really does over time is build this kind of this view that you're talking about of like, that motherfucker over there, he's good.
Yeah.
We're good. I ain't got to worry about him, dude. You light this place on fire, he's going to save everybody in here first.
Yeah.
That's his integrity.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's like doing the right thing always.
Yeah.
And I still fall short in it. Right?
Of course.
Complete transparency. I still have moments where I'm like,
no, totally, dude.
but they eat me up now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
This isn't you.
Yeah.
That's the big one that comes up for me. The next one that I talk a lot about is vulnerability.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's become a core value of mine because I hid from truth. Not only did I lie, but I hid from truth. And it was because I was afraid of shame. I was afraid of judgment, specifically from men. Right?
Yeah.
Because I grew up around some hard asses, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just was what
sure.
it was. And I didn't want to be the kid that was good at football, that was aggressive and violent, but had all these feelings I wanted to talk about. You know what I mean? Fuck that. Like that's not going to look good. So I think that over time, vulnerability became really important to me. It was like, speak your truth, like get it out.
Yeah.
Get it off your chest.
Yeah.
And dude, the way that alone has changed my life has been incredible.
Yeah.
One of my biggest fears when I got sober, and looking back now, it's stupid, but at the time it was very real, was I was like, well, I'll never have a girlfriend again, dude. Like, I got to tell these chicks that I'm sober. What the fuck? And I'll never forget, dude, my sponsor, he's like, dude, go on a date. And as soon as you sit down, I want you to look her dead in the face and be like, hey, just letting you know, I'm not going to be ordering a drink tonight. I'm sober, and this is for how long, and this is why. And he's like, just do that one time.
Yeah.
And he's like, if it fucks your night up, like, you can come back over here and you can, knock me out, whatever the fuck you need to do. But just try it.
Yeah.
And I went and I did it, and this girl was enamored, dude.
Yeah. She loved it.
And I was like, wait, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense, dude. So owning your shit.
Yeah, bro.
Just own it.
Totally. I love that.
That was life-changing for me.
Yeah.
It really kicked me off on this course of, like, I'm just going to tell what it is all the time.
Love that, bro.
And that's why this podcast exists, because, when my dad died of the overdose, it was like, people didn't want to talk about it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't want to bring shame to the family. And hey, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand it.
Yeah.
Me pushing back isn't me not understanding.
Yeah.
It's me knowing that or thinking that I know that there's a greater purpose to this thing than just putting someone in the ground and acting like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so that level of vulnerability, I think, is why the podcast was created.
Yeah.
I told you a little bit about how it started, but it really started around a campfire with Brett. I was, dude, I hate social events. Go figure.
I don't like them
Go
either,
figure,
bro.
dude. You know what I mean? I try.
Yeah, totally, man.
But if they're my people, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I went to this like social networking event, and dude, I got there. There's
Fuck all that.
There's like tripods set up in the kitchen and shit. They're shooting content. I'm like, what the fuck? But I wanted to wait for dinner because they were having like steak and shit. And so I was like, what am I gonna do for the next hour? And I walked outside. They had a fire pit. And dude, I started like walking through the neighborhood, gathering 2x4s and like breaking them up and like building this fire by myself at this social gathering. And,
I love it, dude.
Brett came outside. He's like, any man who would do what you're doing right now, I got to know. I got to have a conversation. So we sat down, we talked for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I told him the whole story, and he's like, you have to do a podcast, dude. So vulnerability's led me to a lot in life.
Yeah, man.
So integrity, vulnerability. I think having a faith structure in place for me, has been absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Being a man of God.
Yeah.
And again, I list all these things, but full transparency, I fall short in all of them too.
Yeah.
They're kind of they're my North Star, right? It's where I aim. It doesn't mean always land.
Yeah.
And so being a man of God for me has changed my life too.
Love that.
And basically being able to not make myself my own God, right? And to lean on to something that I don't understand, that took me forever, dude. Like, I still struggle with it at times. I'm like, because, my stepdad's probably the closest thing to like, that I know of a perfect faith story. Not that there is one, but he's just so strong in it, man. It's like the craziest thing I've ever witnessed.
Yeah, it's always incredible to see that.
And I'll ask him, I'll be like, dude, I'm struggling with this. And he'll just be like, dude, just talk to God. It'll be fine. And I just want to be like, some days like, dude, fucking stop.
Fuck off.
No, it won't. Like, I've been doing it all day. We talked for 3 hours on the road this morning. Guess what? I'm still pissed off. So he ain't handling it. That's all. That's my short-minded thinking.
Yeah,
but like,
of course.
It's helped me a lot. It's
dude.
brought me a lot of good relationships and friendships. But where I stand on that, I talk about this a lot too, and I get some pushback on it every time I bring it up. But dude, I don't care what you believe in.
Yeah.
Like universe, astrology, God.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
And it's not my job to judge you.
Totally.
It's like, this conversation around, a lot of people push back on super religious type approaches because of some of the rules that are in place, if you will, right? The sins. But like for me, the way that I've always looked at it is like, I've never came across a human being that wasn't a sinner on some level. Right?
Yeah.
And so I refuse to judge someone else for their sins. I mean, dude, my list is long.
Yeah.
How can I look at you and be like, you're fucked up, dude? No, I'm fucked up, dude. You know what I mean? But I would have never been able to get to that place without God, right? And so that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
And I think the last one, honestly, is you said resilience and how that kind of ties in. I think, like, when I think resilience, I think perseverance.
Yeah.
And I do think for me, it came from football. Like,
Yeah.
next play, dude.
Yeah.
Like, next play.
Yeah.
You fucked that all up. Next play. You got your ass lit up. Next play.
That's a master class in perseverance.
Yeah, because you feel it on multiple levels, right?
Yeah.
You feel it physically, obviously. You feel it mentally.
You were humiliated.
Emotionally.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, it fucks you up.
Yeah.
And then you got to be able to show up, though, and try to do better.
Yeah.
And I think for me, those would probably be like the top 4.
Love those.
Yeah, those have been the ones that have helped me the most.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I love it, man.
Yeah, so, but that's a great question. Because times have changed, right? Like, I don't have to leave here and go supply food for my family, right? I don't got to go down to the river and catch fish and go hunt a fucking bear.
Yeah, I know.
But I will say this. I do think it's important for men to know how to do some of those
No
things,
doubt about it.
right?
They have to.
It's primal, dude.
They have to.
You have to
You
be
gotta
able to
know
tap
how to
into
fight.
that. Yeah.
You got to know how to fucking get food.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to provide.
hunt. Yeah, you've got to know those things.
Yeah, so that's
If nothing else, for your own well-being.
for sure.
You know.
Well, and to be honest, it's quite a release valve.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's for your spiritual well-being. You
Yeah.
know, mentally and emotionally, you feel better.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than I think being a man and not feeling like one.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, dude.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
there's
I
a
was
lot
like
of
that
it.
for a while after
Yeah.
football.
Oh yeah.
I didn't feel like a fucking man.
I've been in there. I've been there myself.
You took my
many
fucking,
times.
took my gear from me. I can't
Yeah.
fuck people up anymore. I feel like a bitch, dude.
Yeah,
You
what
know
do I
mean?
even do?
And so it took some time to rebuild that, but now it lies in those things we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel like a man,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And doing hard things too. But there's seasons. There's seasons, right? Like maybe a hard thing's a 100-mile ultra marathon. That's great. You know what's really fucking hard for me? Sit with myself when I'm struggling or I'm super anxious. Ah, man. And not pick up the phone and do something or say something or
Yeah.
fuck, dude. It's hard.
Yeah.
And people will, like, it's so funny to me, the irony in this. They'll be like, dude, you've done so many hard things in your life. Like, it's got to be incredible all the time how you feel. And I'm just like, dude, I wish that were true. You know, I wish I could say that.
Yeah.
I can't. I have good moments for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also have a lot of moments where I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
like, again,
Yeah.
today, first thought, last thought, like, damn.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it. And I think people need to know that. Right?
Well, that's the reality of being a human.
Right.
We're a human being, man.
Right.
You know, that's what, most of the problems that we're facing right now is that everybody's trying to escape being a human. You're trying to game the system, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, get good with being a human, bro. A lot of your problems go away.
Yeah, that's incredible advice. Yeah. And it's simple.
Sorry, you know?
Yeah.
There's no magic pill, bro.
No.
You can, summit Mount Everest, meditate for hours with monks in temples, do all the ayahuasca in the world, accomplish all of your dreams. You're still going to be a human.
Dude, the most depleted feeling I think I've ever felt was after this last 100-mile ultra marathon.
Yeah.
And it's because the expectation I put around
Yeah, of course.
what finishing was going to feel like.
Yeah. You thought you'd just, you were going to dissolve into light, dude. That was the end of the movie.
I crossed the finish line. I was just like, all right. And people are like, dude, that's so arrogant of you. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, it's not.
That's
dude.
not at all. Like
That's real as fuck.
that's what I felt.
Dude, you talk to guys who won the Super Bowl, bro. They
Yeah.
wake up the next day and they've never been more depressed.
Yeah. Because you're not chasing. It's for me, I think it's this thing, like we men need something to really pursue
Yeah.
on some level. It doesn't have to be a physical feat, but
No, I agree. We have to have a mission.
you hit that marker though, and you're like,
Oh,
fuck.
the movie keeps going.
Yeah. And that's the transition thing that I think is important to educate on is like, okay, your goal's, to write a book, right? Well, when you realize you're about 6 months out from completion, you need to start, I think, trying to find a new mission, right? Or trying to find out what you want to maybe do next or dive off into, because it's that void after completion of mission to start of new mission. I think that's most dangerous for men. At least that's my experience.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in there. And I would say if we can get to a place where we're really present with the journey and the mission being about the journey, not about where we're going or what we're going to get at the end, then that smooths it out a lot too. For me, it's difficult to, straight up, I'm not very good at multitasking, So for me, like when I was writing my book, it was like all in, I had to be totally fucking focused on it. If I started thinking about other stuff, I wouldn't have got it done.
Well, I say that to be completely fair. I wasn't doing anything else when I was training.
No.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Because
but I think you're right in, I think you hit the nail on the head of recognizing like this thing that I'm putting my fucking soul into. This isn't the end of the road.
Right.
I got a lot of life left to live after that.
Right.
And with football players, going back to the meat and bones of this conversation, which I've loved because haven't gotten to have this conversation maybe ever, dude, talk to a guy who's been there, about just what it's like doing that behind the scenes, As a football player, it's your whole life, dude. Mm-hmm. You thought, you went and played football at the highest level you could possibly do it at, and you thought something was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, I always use that analogy. Like I thought I was going to dissolve into light, dude. Like I was going to be like, God was going to, the clouds were going to part. God was going to come down and say, dude, you did it, bro. Yeah. You're here. But check this out. One of my favorite stories from the Bible is when Jesus is baptized.
Right.
He's baptized by John, and the clouds part. The voice of God comes down, says, "You are my beloved son, with whom I'm well pleased." And he takes him right from there into the wilderness to confront the devil. Does that not blow your fucking mind?
Yeah.
God comes down, says, "You are my chosen son, dude, and I'm pleased with you." Could you think of a higher praise?
No.
And then God takes him into the wilderness for his greatest test of his life. 40 days with the devil. That's some that's some real life shit right there.
Yeah.
Because we summit the highest mountain we could possibly imagine. We achieve our dream. What happens? There's another mountain, dude.
Always.
There's another valley. There's another challenge that's even greater than the last one. So we can't get sucked into thinking that that's it.
Right.
No,
that's excellent perspective. And I struggle in that still because in full transparency, like when I'm into something or I commit to something, it's really hard for me not to be like,
this
balls
is
deep, dude.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
I'll give you everything.
Yeah. Which you still should do. But part of you just has to be surrendered to, really it's just about make your focus about enjoying the ride rather than wherever it is you think you're getting to, Well,
I tell people that about that ultra marathon. There were days on like training runs that I was so much happier. Like the process of it.
Yeah.
Waking up at a certain time and eating a certain thing. And it was so regimented, dude.
You're stoked on it.
And I was just like, fuck yeah, dude. No, I'm untouchable right now. Like when you're in that groove, you literally feel like that. People joke and be like, oh, that guy's the man. But like when you're in that groove and you felt it, I guarantee it. You're like internally, you're not outward with it, but internally you're like, I'm fucking him.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, that's an amazing feeling for a man to have.
Yeah.
But the only way to, I think, continue to contribute to that feeling is to learn humbleness, right? If you're outward with it, you're releasing it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's part of being a good man too, is this ultimate level of being humble.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that.
I agree. Humility is a big one.
Yeah. I might add that into the core value list, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it is big.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to learn too.
Yeah.
When you're praised.
Yeah.
It's hard to remain that way.
Yeah, man.
So, man, I've loved this.
Me too, man.
I've loved this.
Thanks, brother.
I'd honestly love to do it again at some point.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we need to dive into, this will be a great episode, I think, for former athletes or current athletes.
Yeah.
And people in general. But I would really like to continue to pick your brain on like the post career, like what you're into now and what you're building and how you're really focused on your journey now.
Yeah, bro.
I would love to have that conversation. So I think we're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, we'll do part 2 for sure.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Dude, thank you for your time. I'm so grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
I'm grateful as well.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap it for today's episode of the Ain't Dead Yet podcast. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and we'll see you next time.